Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It is the King and I Life podcast hosted by myself, Soul Touch of the Poet, and my brother, son, Soul X.
Yes, sir.
Again, we're talking about Juneteenth versus states changing vote laws and whatever else that comes with that. Son, Soul X.
You guys can
Anything to add?
You guys can reach us at KingAndEye369 Again, that's KingAndEye369 We would love to hear from you. Again, you guys can check us out on Patreon. And again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate the support, man. Our numbers are steady going up. So, hey, we'll take them as we get them, baby. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
So, we left the last segment with the question, where do we go from here? I don't know what else to say to that other than we need to act like we got a clue. If we don't act like we got a clue, then it's not too many places we can go from here. It's really not too much else I can add to that. But I want to jump on states changing voting laws. We're both passionate about this from our perspective corners.
Right.
For me, I feel like if people get off the sidelines and vote, I mean, I don't ever think we're going to get the perfect person in place. I'm not going to be naive to that. But we do have the opportunity to put somebody in place that, will put forth an effort to, support our cause, so to speak. And for me, it doesn't matter what they look like. And I say that because sometimes some of ours get in there, and I know we discussed it before, some of ours getting in there and they just, to put it bluntly, they just fuck up. And I hate to see that, because those are our small opportunities that we can turn into, bigger things. So yeah.
I'll say with them changing, laws for voting. Again, our listeners, I believe you guys, know my stance on that. I feel like we shouldn't vote at all. But again, for those of you who do feel that we should vote, I give my full support to you. I just feel like when people say go vote, I interpret that as go change the damn laws. Go change the laws. That's what we need to do. Because they're constantly changing the laws on us. Constantly. If they're changing the laws on voting, period, don't you think it's going to take changing the laws to deflect what it is that they're trying to administer right now? So you not only have to change the laws to go back from which they came because they weren't fair then, but you got to go beyond that in order to even think about making it where it's fair. If they're constantly going out of their ways to change the laws and we're constantly going out of our ways to vote, again, I just think we're going in the wrong direction. We can stand up in line and vote until we're damn black and blue in the face. But until we get the laws changed, I just think that we're spinning our wheels here. And again, I'm not knocking anyone for wanting to vote. If you feel, it's in your soul to vote, then do that. But I just feel in my soul, it's my right not to vote, not to participate in something that I feel doesn't go to the betterment of my people.
The thing about it is, if people don't vote, laws don't get changed. It takes a vote to change a law. So again, you there's no way around it. Everything is a vote. Um, to get the right person in place, you got to vote. To get a law passed, you got to vote. To get any type of change, you got to vote. Even hell in your workplace for certain things that if you're union based or whatever the case may be, you got to vote. It takes a majority in most cases to vote to get something changed. And if enough of us subtract ourselves from the majority, that changes the dynamic in the vote. So let's just say we needed 5 more people to vote for something that's in our favor. And let's just say all we needed was 5 people. And 15 of them said, fuck it, I'm not voting. We can't get that now. Now we're sitting here looking like, what happened? And then when you look at, well, you needed 5 to vote. 15 said, hell, we're not voting. So it didn't get passed. Then we're mad again. And then who we mad at? The main thing that a lot of us, me included at times, get mad at is the system. But the system is working just the way it was meant to work. It's just that people said, fuck it, I'm not going to be a part of the system. The easiest way that I can put that out there is a lot of us have certain jobs that have 401k. For the longest time, and this goes with mentality and mindset and maturity. For the longest time, I said, I'm not putting my money into that. I want all of my money. I want all my money because I was looking at it as, damn it, well, if I take $150 every paycheck and put it in this 401k, that's $150 less than I'm going to have in my pocket. But my personal ignorance, I wasn't looking at, well, if I take this $150 every paycheck and put it in this 401k and I actively participate in where I'm going to put my money, and I'll equate that to voting, then my money will grow. And at the end of the road, I will get what I want. I will get what I participated in. But because my ignorant ass had that mentality, I'm not doing that. The hell with that. That ain't for me. That ain't meant for me. Blah, blah, blah. I missed out on so much. When I got a clue from looking at, other people that look like me, and I'll use my uncle as an example. He's talking about his 401k, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I got, over $100,000, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there like, God damn, what the hell was I thinking? Do you mean to tell me, had I went ahead and let that $150 every paycheck go in there from Jump Street, I could be up there like that? I say all that to say, if we are not participating in the system to benefit us and not them, we're not going to reap any rewards from it.
All right. Let me ask you a question, and then I'll give you a scenario. Okay. One, what do you think will happen if we stop voting, meaning participating?
I imagine If all of us as a whole stop voting and stop participating, we would revert back to what we were accustomed to in the 16, 17, 1800s. I say that because we would completely remove ourselves from this whole thing and say, you know what? We're going to revert back to our pieces of land that we can scrounge up, and that's what we're going to do. In the meantime, we may have some allies up in there who are urging us, hey, come on, you got to be a part of this. You have to be a part of this to change this. If you're not going to do it, it's not going to happen. And us as a whole be like, man, the hell with that. It ain't for us. It wasn't made for us. So it doesn't matter. If we have that mentality, we have no voice, we have no representation, we have no rights, we have no anything. Nothing. So they can do whatever the hell that they want to do. And we just have to take it, unless we're going to say, you know what, which I know damn well is not going to happen. We're going to have to take up arms and start a war, a revolution, or whatever the case may be. That is what's going to happen if we all say we're out of it.
Okay. So just soak on what you just said. We're out of it. We may have to take up arms. Again, nothing happens in your favor without you doing what you have to do to get what it is you need. Meaning, when the Europeans came over here, they didn't buy the land. They took that shit by force. So what I say is, what we want, we're not going to get it by begging and asking and pleading for it. I'll leave that there. But here's another thing. The story I have for everyone. There's a snake, right? King Cobra snake. Every time he got in a fight with other snakes, he won. He beat their tail and eat them or discard them or whatever it was he wanted to do, right? He's the King Cobra. So the King Cobra is, in this story, the ones who are in charge right now. They pretty much whooping everybody else's ass, doing whatever the hell they want to do. But this particular story, the King Cobra came across a saw, a regular wood saw. He was, slithering and doing his thing, and he bumped this saw. So he decided, who are you to touch me? Not realizing this is a saw, right? So he gets into this fight with the saw. He realizes, I've been biting at this thing and flinging it and everything else, but I think I'll just smother it. I'll take the python roll. I'll just wrap myself around this damn saw and just take the life out of it. Smother it. The damn king snake never realized you are dealing with a saw. So the more he squeezed, the more he applied pressure, the more he killed himself. I say or tell this story to tell others that that's what it takes. You have to get to a place where if you want to be the king of the goddamn jungle, Tarzan wasn't the king of the jungle. It's the damn silverback gorillas. They were the king of the jungles. He was just a visitor. The story with the snake is he squeezed this down on this saw so much that he killed himself. And that's what it kind of takes. Let the system kill itself by applying pressure, thinking that it's going to come out on top. It can't come out on top. It's applying pressure to something it can't beat. We have gone through so goddamn much in this plot of land. We keep on thinking that we have to keep playing this game with the powers that be, and we don't. If you guys have heard the terminology of you give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves. It's kind of like what this is. If you give them enough rope, eventually they will hang themselves. Meaning, let them have their system. We don't have to play in the same damn playground as them. Those of you who get where I'm coming from, you'll grab it. Some of you will catch it later. Some of you, it may be years, but eventually you will catch it. We can't keep going in the same direction as what I'm telling you all. We're not getting anywhere. I'll leave it at that.
So, if I digest what you're saying,
all right,
and I soak it in, let it rest, and say, okay, so you're telling all of us to back out of this system that's been in place since 1776, which is pretty much 300 years, give or take. But there were some years leading up to this system because they didn't like what was going on in Europe. So they came here and started putting this in place. You're telling people to do or be how we were when they first dragged us over here. Because when they first dragged us over here, we were not a part of this system. We weren't even looked at as people. So, in a sense, you're telling us or telling people to revert back to that dynamic where we're not a part of this. They're going to do what the hell they're going to do, and eventually they're going to hang themselves. Now, if you look at history throughout this system over the last 300 years, they ain't hung themselves yet. In whole, they have not.
How would you?
You know, a few. They may have had a few casualties along the way, but as a whole, they have not hung themselves. And what has gotten us a lot of the freedoms that we have now, a lot of the privileges, so to speak, that we have now, is because we fought back against that. We didn't say, oh, shit, well, whatever. We're not in the position that we are now because we opted out. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the Northerners looked at the Southerners and said, you better stop treating them slaves like that. They are people. I'm not saying that that's totally what the hell happened, because we know that's not what totally happened. Because there have been throughout time and still to this day a lot of them that do not care too much about us, our freedoms, what we deserve, or anything else like that. But for us to opt out again, we're going to revert back to where we were, where we have no voice, no rights, no nothing. If you look at our culture as a whole, it's fragmented, fucked up, and all over the place. Priorities are gone, shot. When I was out last week in Baltimore with the National Guard, passing out back, getting to get on the vaccination team, I looked at our people with my own eyes, not the news, not social media, not hearsay, no story from grandpapa or nobody like that, no lies from the white man, nothing like that. I looked at them with my own two eyes and I said, we're fucking doomed. Because what I looked at was a lot of people who chose not to participate, chose not to stand up, chose not to fight for what they deserve. What they fought for was the next fucking high. What they fought for was dumbass arguments about what the white man doing, this, that, and the other. What I did not see, or what I did not see enough of, was our people saying or walking around like, I belong here. You're not going to oppress me. That's what I did not see. So to think that 300 years later, if we opt out, they're going to put pressure on the system and it's going to crack. It's not going to crack. It's not going to crack. We will crack ourselves on our own without the system before the system cracks. Because the problem is, if we do not do right by ourselves and assert ourselves, I'm not talking about begging. I ain't talking about pleading. I ain't talking about bitching, crying, and whining. I'm talking about us having a genuine appreciation for ourselves, our culture, and what we deserve. We cannot sit back and be like, you know what? I'm gonna let them hang themselves. It's not gonna happen because it's enough of people in place that when this group of jackasses start steering the system to the right or to the left too far, there's mechanism built in to bring that shit back to center. It may not be on full center, but it's gonna come back to some kind of center and balance. With or without us.
My thing is this, right? By us opting out, where were we before we opt out?
You say, where were we before we opt out?
Where were we? We had our own shit, right?
What do you mean?
We had our own shit. We had our own stuff. We had our own culture. We had our own lands. We had, our own system in place. Whether you think we're from Africa or if you think we're from where we're from, meaning the indigenous people of this land, we had our own systems. So if us opting out means us going back to our old systems, our own ways,
we too far gone for that.
I'm hellified for that. We're never too far gone. That's the thing that I'll put it to you like this. We can't change the past, right? Hell, we can barely change the damn present. But the one thing we can change is the future. So when I hear people say, um, we opted into this system, no, no, we didn't. Again, if you believe we came here on slave ships, how is that opting in to be here? And I don't want to hear no bullshit about where we sold each other out. No, don't give me that one. Give me something other than that one. I don't give a damn how people chop it up or look at it. We were steered in this direction. Whether we went willfully, highly doubt it, dragging, kicking, screaming, everything else. Regardless, we're here, right? But again, this way of life is not cutting it for us. And for those that you saw last week getting high, I don't blame them. Yes, it was a choice. But when you look at the world that we're faced, not all of us are built for this shit. Not all of us are strong-willed or strong-minded, however you want to put that. There are some of us just can't handle the pressure. And then there are some of us who rather sell the rest of us out to get what they think is they deserve, or they feel like they getting what they're worth in order to sell the rest of us out. Again, that's their choice. But what I am saying here is, when you look at other cultures, although they didn't opt out, why would you opt out of something you're actually gaining something from? But for us, what the hell are we gaining here besides a holiday? Our kids are being taught about everyone else except for their own damn culture. We're working jobs that we pay taxes on, when again, this country was supposedly started because they didn't want to pay taxes. How is it right that someone else gets your money before you get your money? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Call it what you want to, but that don't make any sense to me. When I say opt out, I'm talking about, why don't we build our own? Again, if everybody else can do it, meaning have their own communities, how come we don't do it? Some people say, well, during times of rioting and things along that nature, you burn down your own cities or your own communities. I'm like, well, what the fuck do we own supposedly in those communities? Because at the end of the day, we still got to pay taxes on everything we supposedly own. And 9 times out of 10, those buildings that we supposedly own shops in don't belong to us. I mean, the list goes on and on. But we just can't keep doing the same shit, expecting a different result. We just can't. It's a slap to our ancestors' face to say that we can't come up with our own shit.
It's the King and I Life podcast. It's your boy
That's all I'm
Soldier
saying.
Reporting, my man. talking about Juneteenth and
Son So Lex.
versus voting rights, and whatever else comes up in the conversation, whatever our hearts is on the hearts and minds. Um, hit us up. You know how to hit us up. We'll be back.
Yes, sir.